to around 6 feet away from each other in his right-hand turn as they form the shape of the space shuttle. Leading the team is Red 1, squad leader David Montenegro, and it's his second year as the team's leader. He's a former Hawk instructor and Tornado F3 pilot, spent 3 years previously with the team from 2009 to 2011. Cameras ready now, in from the right, this is the shuttle roll. Corel, up, easy, up, second, let's give the pilots a big wave as they go upside down at 2,500 feet at 100 miles an hour. On the front right of that shuttle wing is the first of our new pilots. He's Red 2, Flight Lieutenant Matt Masters. Matt started his career teaching basic fast jet training off the Tucano and then moved on to fly the Tornado F3 before coming to the Red Arrows. In fact, the last tour he's just spent flying the Hawk on number 100 Squadron, the Royal Air Force's aggressor unit. Front left now, we're forming a new shape. This is of Apollo. It's a bit of a space theme. We are STEM ambassadors, science, technology, engineering and maths. And another STEM ambassador who has been in the limelight this year is Major Tim Peake, who's currently on the International Space Station. He's also a STEM ambassador, teaching science, technology, engineering and maths from the space station. So we've been put Apollo in the display this year to congratulate Tim on his space expedition. With a very set cadence in their voices. The idea is that all of the pilots continue counting using that cadence in their heads, and on the count of 4 they extend their air brakes. On the count of 6 they retract their air brakes. That enables them to all drop back at the same rate to form a new shape. This is depicting the delta wing platform of the Royal Air Force's multi-role combat aircraft. So we're going to get a bit of red and white smoke now. In from the left, this is Typhoon. Well, the last of our new pilots is a former Typhoon pilot. He's Red 3, Flight Lieutenant Cy Taylor. He's leading the left wing. He's at the front of the left wing in that Typhoon shape. Cy started off flying the Tornado GR4, but then moved across to the Typhoon, where he spent a tour on the front line, and then moved across to number 29 Squadron, where he was an instructor. Out to the right, we're forming another shape, ready for a totally brand new manoeuvre this year, which is going to celebrate the Royal Air Force's fast jet workhorse, which has been on near enough continuous operations for 25 years. Since 1991 and the start of Operation Granby, the start of the first Gulf War, the Royal Air Force's Tornado GR1 and GR4 force has been on operations around the globe. Now, in from the right, this is Tornado. Display pilots you've got performing for you now are in fact former Tornado Hawk pilots. One of them is Red 5, who's at the front left of the, or the far left of the 7-arrow shape as we look at it. Red 5's Flight Lieutenant Emmett Cox. He's actually from New Zealand. He grew up there but moved to the UK in 2002 to join the Royal Air Force. He started off as a Tornado pilot, then moved on to fly the Tucano, teaching basic fast jet training. Front left now, another shape is formed. Normally, Reds 2 and 3 have a very stable platform next to Red 1 at the front, but now they've dropped right back to being Red 7's jet at the back of the formation. They're around 110 feet away from Red 1's jet. Now please bear in mind, as they fly this shape, no one is looking at the aircraft only 6 feet away next to them. Everybody has their own references on Red 1's jet. They just trust the pilot next to them will be in the right place. This is a very difficult shape to fly, ladies and gentlemen. Cameras ready. This is Swan. of the formation as we look at it now is Red 9. He's Flight Lieutenant Joe Hurston. Joe is the team's executive officer, so he's in charge of all of the pilots' disciplinary actions. And he makes sure that everyone who makes a mistake gets a financial penalty at the end of the debrief. That's Joe at the top. He started his career as a Hawk instructor, moved on to the Tornado, and then back to the Hawk. This time, the Royal Air Force's newest training aircraft, the Hawk T Mark II. Another shape is formed to the right. This is depicting the shape of the former naval fighter, the de Havilland Sea Vixen, as they get ready to fly. The Big Vixen roll. Once again, upside down, jet 6 feet apart at 400 miles an hour. You can hear cadence Red 1 Monty is using, and that's to give the pilots on the outside an idea of how they can anticipate their control input so the whole formation moves as one. The pilots are actually flying by ear. They are using Red 1's cadence as opposed to waiting for the reference on his jet to change, otherwise the whole wing would be broken and the angles of bank would be very different. So that is the first part of our display, ladies and gentlemen. So far you've seen all 9 aircraft together performing close formation aerobatics. In fact, it's worth mentioning that all military pilots are taught aerobatics, taught aerobatics as singletons, but also formation. We just take it up a notch and put 9 jets together doing it as aerobatics. We're now going to split down into sections of 2 to 7 aircraft for some more dynamic performing. Out the front is the shape of Dagger. We're getting ready to start the second part of our display with the detonator. At the top, Reds 1 to 5, known as Enid, after Enid Blyton's famous 5. Reds 6 to 9 underneath, known as Jippo. Cameras ready. Enid. There go Enid as they fan out, pulling 6G. Keep your eyes on Jippo.
Test flight.
32. Leaving the formation. Ryan STA glinting like a mirror on the right. As is the biplane nearest us, at the rear of the formation. Blackbird B2. The Magister in full yellow colour scheme. Ryan STA, fascinating aeroplane, developed from an original 1933 design of Claude Ryan. Very advanced for its day, being entirely of metal construction, as opposed to wooden fabric of most of its competitors. It was the air racers and the popularity of air racing in the 1930s that prompted the design of the STA. Very expensive aeroplane for its time. I think the very rich could afford one. And with its batted up the derrick, very much is an Art Deco aeroplane, isn't it? Powered by a 134 horsepower Manasco Super Pirate 4-cylinder inverted air-cooled engine. Only 73 were built in total, and only 22 survived. That, ladies and gentlemen, just taken off. The Bristol F2B fighter from 1917. For us today by Jim Schofield. Jim, interestingly, up until recently, was one of the test pilots on the new F-35 Joint Strike Fighter over in America, and the RAF pilots flying the type. That must be quite a change if you think about it, moving from the latest widescreen glass cockpit back to a Bristol fighter. About 4 instruments in this, if I recall. The Bristol fighter is one of the aircraft that proves that you can have a really, really good idea and not realise it. Originally intended as a standard two-seater. Now, two-seater aircraft in the First World War was primarily used for bombing, artillery observation, reconnaissance, that kind of work. First issued to 78 Squadron, Bristol fighter, and they flew them like two-seaters in formation, nice and slowly and steadily. And like all the other two-seaters, they quickly started piling up losses to the German single-seat fighters like the Albatros D3 and D5 and the D7. And one of the guys on 78 Squadron finally had enough of it.
Lots of little kids.
And broke formation and just decided he was going to fly like a fighter. He was going to fly, he was going to sit there and take this, he was going to fly like a fighter. And that's when they discovered that having a 275 horsepower Rolls-Royce Eagle engine, Rolls-Royce Falcon, beg your pardon, Falcon 3 engine in the nose, gave this aircraft unbelievable speed and manoeuvrability, capable of 122 miles an hour, so it's faster than some of the single-seat fighters of the day. Very strong, typical Bristol product, and very, very manoeuvrable. And the second they made that change, the losses fell enormously. And they started operating like fighters.
And quite often they'd see a dogfight in the distance, and they'd have finished their reconnaissance task or their artillery task or their bombing task or whatever they were meant to be doing, and they'd go and help the single seat fighters. Single belt-fed, water-cooled Vickers 303 machine gun in the nose, fired by the pilot through the arc of the propeller via an interrupter mechanism. But unlike all the aircraft they were fighting against, the single-seaters they were fighting against, this one had a sting in the tail because, of course, it had the rear gunner observer. He had a 303 drum-fed Lewis gun on a scarf ring, as it was known. That was a machine gun mount that allowed you to move the gun in all directions. And as you can see, very unusually, the fuselage doesn't actually touch either wing. The wing is actually mounted on struts between the upper and lower wings. There is a gap if you look closely. And without doubt, the finest two-seat fighter of the First World War, this aeroplane. So successful was it that 5,100 Bristol fighters were built, serving way into the 1920s, going as far afield as India and Afghanistan, service with the Royal Air Force, all the way down through Africa. You find them all over the place. Even a number of them that were modified with the rear fuselage that could take a stretcher so they could land close to a battle area and act as an air ambulance.
Yeah, I know they're the wrong ones. Are they the one? Yeah. These ones last longer, I think. The real racing ones. Only one of them, that's the only one actually. Yeah, it didn't have a long life on it.
Thank you.